How do everyone? Welcome back to the Pottymouth Garden Club. Yes, with my good friends. JB, he's on the neat water there. Thames, is that Thames water?
On the good stuff.
Is that Thames water, JB? Is that who you're
Portsmouth water.
Portsmouth.
Portsmouth's finest.
Are you good? Are you well, JB?
Yeah, all good. Pretty good day.
Well, I'd seen in
my
our
mood.
I was going to say, seen in our. Let me speak for 1 minute, man. It's not like company kind of, you know what I mean? Just because you're higher up in the company there, do you know what I mean? I heard you were suffering from hay fever. That's what I was going to say. How you doing? Are you?
That's exactly what I was about to say. Yeah, my mood at the moment is determined entirely by the pollen count, pretty much,
Right.
and whether or not the medication is hitting or missing. I'm using a nose spray at the moment, which seems to be the best thing. And some days it is unbearable. Saturday was awful. Just kind of stayed in the house all day, feeling a bit sorry for myself. But then Sunday wasn't too bad, and today is okay.
Can you put like a some sort of reasoning on it, JB? Because the sunnier it is, does it get the worse it gets, or is it just the way? Because does wind, you like pollen affected, or?
Yeah, it's such a mix. It's definitely worse like earlier in the day and then kind of in the afternoon. I can normally get away better with like the evenings, so like after 7 o'clock. But it does just feel like a bit of a crapshoot, to be honest. Whether or not it affects me, I don't know. Yeah. It's definitely grass pollen. But I don't know why some days it feels like the medication works. Like today is fine, barely got a symptom, a little bit sniffly. But then other days it's like I haven't taken anything at all. And I've just like walked through a meadow, even though I've just woken up and not left the house yet. But everything will be streaming and I can't breathe.
Your eyes look lovely.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. You too, Tony.
I always slips up there. But it's nice to have you anyways. Nice to have. Audrey,
thank you very much.
Yes. Now, listen, Audrey, it's cooking on gas over here. We must be hitting at least 65 Fahrenheit. It's sweltering here, man. My God, it's sweltering. So we know what you're going through.
That's the temperature we all wish it was over here.
Well, it might be a touch. I mean, it's kind of I'm terrible in the heat. Do you know what I mean? But I don't know what we've had. Well, it was 30 in my car one day, but it's blue. I mean, it's clouded over there now, but it's been warm. But I keep on, even when I'm like sweltering, Audrey, I keep thinking this is nothing compared to what Audrey's going through.
It's not, and it's been really humid, so that makes it worse.
Right.
Yeah, so the air's been like thick. I don't even know how to say it, just thick.
Oh, right.
But we are getting rain every day right now, so I feel a little British connection here.
Right.
That normally doesn't happen, so...
So Jess, it must be red hot down where you are as well, is it? Is it?
I've just looked up what it is in Audrey language, and it's 86.
Oh, that's
see, yeah.
That's a very admirable temperature. that is very good.
We're only going. Warm.
Yeah, we're only going up to 80 today. So we're
nice.
Jesse's trumped you there, Audrey. Trumped you well into.
I know. But yeah,
we're past my 67 up here in the northeast.
Oh, I would love 67. Are you kidding me?
Oh. I mean, the dogs are just hammered. Do you know what I mean? It's just like when we take them for a walk, they're looking through they're going into every bush, for like a little bit shade, and they're dropping the balls when they do that. They've got all these rubber balls. You try to be like good to the environment where we go for our local walk. I must have left. There must be about 50 plastic balls around this because they people drop it and then they come out running for you, and you think, "You ball, get your ball, man."
Now you're kidding when you say it's 65 over there, correct?
It's probably a touch high, Audrey, but it ain't kind of much up here. It's not as hot as Jesse's down there, but do you know what I mean? I think we. Probably about 24, whatever that is. You know what I mean? Whatever that is in...
That's around 77. I've been doing an online calculator here, which is the same here. We're about 77 today, or 25.
I think our high today is like 78, 79.
Oh,
Well,
Hot
I
enough,
tell
isn't
you,
it? That's hot enough.
I tell you what, I did do though, JB. And it's a video that coming out at 5 o'clock today. That I went up, although I've got the quad grows, I went up because even though like the like the trickling, I've got this like little paranoia that it just might dry out too much, and I've had my polytunnel open front and back now, just as it happened when this hot weather really kicked in for us over here. So, have you ever heard like the quad growers growing like going too, or even like the auto pots growing too dry in like a hot weather, or can they just still keep on? There's plenty of water in the reservoirs. I just had this kind of, is it going to be enough with this? Because in the polytunnel, even though the doors are open, man, it's like makes me dizzy. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
makes us it does it makes us dizzy there, just like, and then it. But have you heard it? Does it do that, JB, or
No,
not?
I think they should be fine. Basically, certainly in UK temperatures. I know that the auto pots, they came up with like a white pot basically for like tropical countries or countries close to the
Right.
equator, because they do a lot of commercial grower setups. And if you're growing on the equator, then there is a potential like risk of the black pots absorbing so much heat that it does get a little bit hot for the water and the roots. So they do sell a white one, but I've never heard of that being an issue in the UK. They should be fine.
Should be
They
fine.
There's a nice, the water will heat up quite nicely, but it takes a lot of heat. You know, it takes the water will take a lot of thermal energy to actually get up to a temperature that could really harm your plants. I think.
Well, it was more, I was thinking, would it actually stop the capillary action, if it gets too hot, because me lettuce, I've got some lettuce growing in the greenhouse and that all wilted. Do you know what I mean? And that was was with the door open. I didn't have my window open inside, but that was with the door open, you know what I mean? And it wilted like something not right. So I was like, oh!
Yeah, they don't like it too hot, do they? The lettuce. They like a little
mine
bit
have all
of partial
bolted
shade.
with this
Oh,
last
really?
week of heat. I've got bolted lettuce everywhere.
yeah.
Audrey, you're not having a good year this year, mind
I
you.
am
You know what I mean?
not. I
Right,
am.
no,
Although I do want to say, I've had some pretty good harvests.
Ooh.
Although I'm not having a good year, I had lots of garlic scapes. I had a big rhubarb harvest, which is my first from these plants. I pulled out my first onion that I overwintered. It's enormous. I've
Nice.
never been able to overwinter anything. Peas galore. So it's not all bad, but it is bad. I'm trying to look at the bright side. Like,
Did we mention this? Did we mention this last time, or is all this what you're getting now from last year? Like
oh no.
put in last year sort of thing, or
Oh,
not?
well, the
or-
rhubarb, yeah. And the onion, yes, for sure. Because I found a variety Walla Walla will overwinter in my area. I never expected an overwintered onion. It's huge.
That's incredible.
Wonderful.
I missed what you said there. Did you say Walla Walla?
Walla Walla.
Well, that's a variety of onion.
Yes.
Are you sure you just haven't me on
No, I'm absolutely sure. I don't think I could make that one up.
Oh, you can get
there? I
that one
thought
in
the
the
internet. I
UK.
thought my internet was stuttering there when you
No,
were saying Walla Walla.
JB's looking it up, so he'll be able to confirm that is.
A
It's a
very
sweeter-
sweet,
Yeah, it's a
very
sweet
sweet
onion,
French
yes.
onion. Mm.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Jess,
there
how are you, Jess? Are you good? Are you? How does, like you say, you've just quoted a temperature there, which is like pretty hot. How does your chickens like handle the heat? Are they pretty good that way, or?
I mean, where their house is under a tree anyway, and they've
Right.
got a lot of shelter in their house. So generally, like last year, was it last year? No, the year before when it got to 40, like they were hot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it got to 40 down here, which was outrageous. But generally they're fine as long as they've got water. They're pretty sensible. Like they get in the shade and they spread themselves out, so they can keep the heat off, and they're all right. They're okay.
Right.
They deal with it a lot better than I do.
Oh, I know. It's like where UK, as soon as like littlest bit of heat. Do you know what I mean? I was like, oh, it's too hot, it's too hot. So, how's things? Oh, JB, look what I forgot to mention this. I'll just share it on the screen. This was from Bill I Am. If I can just find.
Oh, is this the quad grows?
Yes, look at that.
Yeah, I saw this.
He says after, I think it was about 4 weeks,
Oh.
a cat kind of. I'll just pull it down a touch. If I can it. No, that's it. That's it. But he says a cat kind of jumped on it or something like that. But that's after 4 weeks of.
That's
like,
impressive,
growing,
isn't
innit?
it?
Do you know what I mean?
Was it tomato?
I'm not sure what it was.
I think it was the tomato.
Yes.
Yeah, that is pretty impressive.
But
That really hit the ground running. That one. 4 weeks, wow.
But nice to kind of the seems to work, and that you can kind of see. You've seen on it. It wasn't actually going on down the cloth, or it was just starting to put into the roots into the actual quad grow there. So
it's so funny. I always thought that would be really bad, and that the roots would start to rot if they kind of made their way down into the reservoir. But they're absolutely fine. I think what happens is that by the time the roots are down into the reservoir, the season's got to the point where it's really warm, and they're drinking a heck of a lot of water. So I don't think they're sat in the water long enough for the water to become like stagnant or anything like that. So I think the roots can kind of handle it.
But what about all this, you know, like, you got to put gravel in the bottom of your pots just to, you know, stop it getting
I don't think that's
waterlogged?
the thing with the quad grows so much. Maybe if you're growing specific plants, but tomatoes are thirsty. They love it.
Oh, mate, I can see the difference, you know, like from the chilies to the tomatoes. The chilies are nowhere near drinking as much. Even the cucumbers aren't drinking as much water as the tomatoes. Are just like slow down, man.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah. It's still cold nights, I think, affecting the tomatoes a little bit.
Not here. Not
No,
here.
as it warmed up. I saw someone's forecast. It was dropping down to 8 degrees overnight.
We're even switching on switching on a cool bedroom fan now. By God, do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's
Summer has arrived.
Yeah, so summer has arrived.
Sorry, Jesse. We were in the middle of asking you how your week has been.
Fine. Hot. Yeah, actually, I'll tell you what. I was looking at. I was feeling a bit like looking at the allotment, like, oh, nothing's where it should be, and I was feeling a bit down about it. And actually, I went back and looked at photographs. You know, when you can just flick back to a year and look at what it was looking like last year, and it looks so much better this year than it did last year. That actually, I'm feeling much better about the whole situation. Yeah. I always get it's like this bit where you think, oh well, we've just had like the summer solstice, like it should be at absolute peak, but actually it's still so early in the year, like you're sort of not thinking about it. It's like August when it really looks really full. And
well, I was going to say, just I've got my chard in, and it looks like it's away, it looks like it's taken, but they're only like little, you know what I mean? And you expect chard, you want chard to be nice and big and luscious and green, and then I do look at photographs, but I never kind of marry them up to the dates, and you just look at them and you think, bloody hell. Because mine just looks like almost like a desert. Do you know what I mean? All like the beans are just starting to curl around, and you know what I mean? So.
But it's so early still. Like, it really doesn't feel like it is, but it is. I mean, it's still only June, isn't it?
Have you... Jess, have you? I'll ignore him again. He's getting.
I stopped myself.
You know what I mean? Who does he think he is, man? You know what I mean? Like power management there. Have you done, Jess? Have you sown stuff like like the sprouting broccoli for next year or anything like that? Are you doing anything like that?
Yeah, I'm just about to. I had a bit of a success. You know, last week we were talking about going and finding brassica starts in garden centres. Had an absolute riot of a success. So I got some tender stem sprouting, some Brussels sprouts, and some just normal Calabrese broccoli. Sorry, JB, but I got them because all of ours went. Like we had nothing left. But I think I've still got time for purple sprouting broccoli, just about. And I'm going to stick some more Cavallonero in, and it'll just be later than I was hoping for. But I think we'll still get something out of it.
So this was all in the garden centre, was it?
Yeah.
Wow.
They had masses. I was really impressed. Like normally by now, the big squires in Twickenham, there's a huge squires there. They had nothing. I mean, they had loads of chilies and tomatoes and stuff, but no brassicas. And Hilliers in Syon Park had tons. and they all look really healthy as well. You know, sometimes if they've got leftovers and they just look really sad.
So do you think they were just do you think they were just brought in, or have they been there
Yeah, they
for?
were really fresh, and
Right.
the plants looked absolutely great, and I just took them straight back and planted them out immediately. And yeah, I think they're going to be really good. So
So
bit of
just
a recovery.
how much did you spend then? That's what we want to know. How much did you spend on brassicas?
I spent £12.
That's all right.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
and it's got so I've planted 6 of each because I'm trying to do the old, like, not cram them all in, which gave me like 4 left over of each, which I've kind of dispersed to other people who've had brassica crisis. So I feel like it was well worth £12.
So
It's not even 2 pints. Like, that's definitely worth brassica.
Yeah.
that's the currency. Is that
It is. Measure it up against the pint, and it's really cheap.
so? You've got them in now. Then are they suffering a little bit with the heat, Jess? Are you watering them more, or are they all right? Or
They seem fine. Everything seems fine. It's a bit hot in the greenhouse, but that's about it. Yeah.
is your polytunnel? Is it? No,
Well,
right.
to be fair, we were going to do
Bloody
it,
bloody winter.
but it was really windy again at the tail end of this week. So that's the first job for this week. It's already like absolutely everything is prepped to go to cover it.
Right.
It's just waiting for the right day.
Is it? I'm sure I've asked you this as well, Jess. Is it a one woman job, or are you going to drag in everyone to help you to get it?
No, it's a 2-bird job, really. Like, Mum and I covered it together the first time, and it was fine. The only thing that we're going to have to do differently this time is that when we put the cover on the first time, all the land around it was clear because I'd only just built it and we hadn't kind of planted stuff up against it. Now we've got blooming great rosemary and a sage that's sort of, you know, about 1 metre high, and then like a water butt stuck to the side. So we're going to have to do a bit of clearance before we do it, but it's fine. But the sage is looking so good. Like, it's just covered in flowers. I didn't want to chop it back just yet. I thought I'd leave it until the day.
Well, did you just chop it back, not dig it out? Chop it back.
I mean, I should really dig it out because it's not in a good place there, like right up against the polytunnel. But it just looks so nice. Like, and the
easier said
leaves
than
this
done, isn't
year,
it?
like they see, you know, like normally a sage leaf is about sort of that sort of size. They're like this year. They're absolutely massive. They're absolutely stunning.
Man, and how, you know, if you get it, just let's see it, because I don't think you'll come next week and say it's fixed, but let's just say it's on and
Oh,
done.
you have little faith. Come on.
Will you bring it? Will you bring tomatoes in there now, or is what's going to go in? Are they all ready to go in? Because the last time they weren't that.
I mean, I could probably... The tomatoes are at a point where it wouldn't be ludicrous to plant them out, but they're not anywhere near the stage where it's like, oh, damn, I really need to get them planted up. You know what I mean? I've got a bit of leeway with them.
That's good.
It's amazing how just different. Like mine, honestly, they're past me head height.
Yours are ridiculous.
Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah, yours are ridiculous, Tony.
it's just bizarre how, you know, we kind of really plant them the same time. Do you know what I mean? But it's just bizarre how
Yeah.
you hit a good spell. Do you know what I mean? So,
Jessie
Audrey,
was,
what JB?
Jessie was saying about when she went back and looked at how the plot was looking this time last year, and I just the other day did exactly the same thing. Watched one of my videos, and my tomatoes this time last year looked like yours, Tony. And this year they're like it's
Did
big.
they?
They are moving, but yeah, no, I had the opposite experience to you, Jessie. I was just like, wow. It feels like I'm, 3 or 4 weeks behind this year. It really does. On my growth. Chilies are okay.
I'd
But,
say we're definitely running behind.
Yeah.
But it's things like beans. Like the last couple of years, I've had a really hard time planting my beans out because they've either been eaten off really badly the moment I've put them out, or, you know, when beans just really sulk. And this year they just haven't. They're just looking really strong. So when you kind of look at pictures of the plot, the arches are like the main bit down the centre, and they're a lot further on this year than they were this time last year, after
Nice.
having so many disasters with them. So hoping it's going to be a good bean year.
Well, hopefully yes as well. Audrey, how's the planting out? How's it going?
Well, absolutely nothing got planted out last week.
Just too hot.
It
Makes
was too
sense.
hot, and I thought even if the next day is going to be a little cooler, it's still too hot for a little seedling to go out. They're just going to fry. So
Yeah.
I think this week we'll get a whole lot more maybe in the garden, but we're going back up to almost 90 on Thursday. So I'm playing a real juggling act, but I think I'm going to get a shade cloth out, and I'm going to have to start getting them in, or they're never going to get in. I wasn't going to start my beans or my squash or anything indoors. I started them all last week because I thought I can't lose another week. Right? So
Oh,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
am I right in thinking you plant them straight in the ground?
that was the plan. But then because of this temp, I started them inside.
Oh, right,
So
right.
they're all up, so I think they could go out quite soon.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I really feel like I'm juggling with this heat.
And would if they could get, because I know some of your places like has got water irrigation, would they not be all right even if they're getting enough water? Is the heat still too hot
Oh,
there?
I think if you put a seedling out there and there's a 90-degree heat right on it, it's
just
just
gonna-
going to shrivel up. I had a few
Yeah.
peppers that just shriveled,
I remember you.
they've got water right to their root, but they just couldn't take the heat.
What about your
So-
tomatoes then, Audrey? How's your tomatoes
Well,
going?
the ones that are, yeah, they're looking okay. They're again, we've had rain every day, which is so unusual for us. And I've run my irrigation a lot because I don't want them to fry. So they're starting to put on some size. But
Any
these are
fruit
not
on them?
award-winning. These are not award-winning tomatoes at this point.
Any fruit on them, Audrey?
Oh, they don't even have flowers on them yet.
Right.
Yeah, no, they're early, but we have enough heat till, I mean, I'll still get tomatoes in September and October. So we have enough carryover heat. I'm still going to get plenty of tomatoes. It's nice to have one like by July 4th. Have a nice tomato, Not going to happen this year. Not gonna
How's yours, JB? Your tomatoes? How they doing?
Yeah, they're okay. I haven't been down to the plot since Saturday, and I mean, they've just got to that point where it feels like almost every day you can see them getting bigger. So I'm hoping I'm going to go down after this, and they'll be moving. They're definitely moving in the right direction. Certainly the ones in the polytunnel. And despite the hay fever, I did have quite a productive week. I managed to get loads more planted out, both in the smaller second greenhouse that I've got into the ground in there, and a few outside as well, all the Roma ones. Do you remember I had that
Yes.
realization when we were recording last time? I was like, wait, have I done a load of bush tomatoes in the polytunnel? Thankfully, I haven't. All of the ones in the polytunnel are indeterminate. So I had planned that at some point in the past, which is very good. But yeah, they're still kind of. I guess there's a couple that are, I don't know how much you can see. Are just starting. They're really getting a good few sets of
Small.
leaves. They're small compared to yours. Yeah, I can't lie. I don't think I've got any fruit yet, but we do have some of the first trusses just starting.
Are you,
the flowers?
Are you a pincher outer, JB?
I've been
on
doing
the-
the side shoots.
Yeah, are you doing taking the side shoots out? Are you? Because funny, we've got some outside here in the garden, some troughs, and we're just leaving them ones just to go. Although they are, straight up, we are just letting them just go. And mind you, they're just going everywhere. You know what I mean? Like
It's
if you don't
wild,
take
isn't
them
it?
side shoots out, and even going up the polytunnel, I'm taking the side shoots out. It's like, man, because like the side shoots coming from side shoots you've already nipped. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's just like,
Yeah.
I've took one from there already. Do you know what I mean? And then you'll find one that's like, where did that one come from? You know what I mean? So
It's really annoying when you go in and you see one and you think, oh, that looks so good and healthy, and then you realize like half the growth is side shoots. So you've got to prick out, and afterwards it looks really sad.
No,
But,
Tony, do you have fruit yet on yours?
me.
Yeah.
Oh, for God's sake. Of course I do, man. I've got bloody tomatoes the size of again, footballs.
Have you got any ripe ones yet?
Not right ones, but I've got, even...
Oh wow, you got fruit and everything.
No, I've got...
Look at you. the head of the class.
Now I know how JB felt when he was kept on with his chilies there. No, I think on probably every tomato I've got fruit, and then on some of them, like the beef ones, they are a nice kind of size. So I honestly think it was because I changed over compost, and then I put them into like these quad grows in full clover. Do you know what I mean? I just think it was like the right time and the right ingredients, and it was just like away they went. So
it's surprising that you weren't set back by the cold nights. That's what's really impacted most people's tomatoes in the UK. I think I don't go on Facebook very often, but I have been recently, and it's really interesting seeing just how many people are posting in gardening groups saying like, what is wrong with my tomatoes? Why are they still, this big when last year they were, 4 times the size? And it just seems to be those really late, the cold snaps overnight late into the season.
I think I woke up the allotment, mind you, and I'll be honest, most other ones are still smallish. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're probably a couple of foot high. Where
you did something right.
I did something right. I wish I could, replicate it next year because. But I was saying, we mentioned this again last week. It's them ones, Jesse, them Starship Trooper ones. I forget the name. They're the things that are
Starfighter Prime.
Yeah, they're the things that are just like over. Well, they're now probably 7 foot tall because they're now.
To be fair, they are my tallest ones. Like, I mean, they're still. I can tell you, they're not 7 foot, but but like in the tray where they're all sitting, like you can spot those ones and the Japanese blacks because they've got such different leaves. But the two of them really stand out. Right? They do look different.
I tell you what I've noticed as well, mind you, JB, just with the chilies, is most of the chilies have like bushed up and then they've sprouted again. Do you know what I mean? Like, so they've like, it's almost like a canopy, and then they've went taller again with another canopy.
Yeah, mine are really interesting this year. They're not going very tall at all, apart from a couple of varieties, but most of them have just got incredibly bushy. Like, I've never seen anything like it, and I think it's probably because I kept them inside for so much longer than I normally do. And so they've grown for so long with just that one light at the top that they've been growing up and up. Now they've got the sun. They're growing out and out. But they're not getting much height on them at all, and it's just crazy, crazy thick.
Would that matter though? Would that be a problem, or is it?
I don't think so. I think if anything, it will be an aid, especially for a lot of the sweets that I'm doing this year, because those leaves will actually shade the fruit and stop them getting sunburned, which is like one of the biggest issues I always have with the sweets, where if you get a sweet pepper and it's in full sun, you get sun scorch on it. It looks very similar to blossom end rot. It's just on the top of the pepper or where the sun is hitting it. And I had that on one of my sweet peppers already.
I never. How do you stop that then? Just like shade. Right?
Yeah. Shade or I think rotating it so that if you see that there's a really nice pepper, put it in the shade. Rotate your pot.
So you would have thought, with them, I suppose that's what they do over. Like you see them like tomatoes and all, and chilies and all that in like Spain and everything, and they do. I suppose they do have shaded white canopies over them. So I would have thought they would have been just lapping up the sun.
Yeah, it doesn't happen with chilies. I've never had a chili pepper that got sun scorched, and I wonder if it's because of the way that we've bred sweet peppers. They're a bit different from the natural varieties, but then again, chili peppers are too. Might just be one of those things that as we've bred for like sweetness and size of capsicums, the sweet peppers, they've maybe just lost that resistance to sun. I'm guessing. I don't know.
Jess, what about chilies for you? Are we? No. Yeah.
I mean, they're looking so much.
They're there.
Like they have recovered and they are kind of doing something.
How big on the?
I'd say probably about
that's good.
Yeah, that's all right.
Fine,
yeah,
they recovered.
They have recovered a lot, but I tell you, the ones that I didn't pot up, just died. They never got any bigger than that with their 2 seed leaves. They never produced a leaf, and they just died.
Nightmare.
But the ones that I kind of moved on and potted on and have been kind of looking after a
Well, you
lot.
potted them on in your silver grow again, though, didn't you?
It was still silver grow, but I don't know what was wrong with it. Whatever happened, but they yeah, they're looking all right. They are looking all right. I'm actually, like, the moment I can get the tomatoes out of the greenhouse is when I'll get the quad grows up and running and get them in there. Yeah,
They're going in the green. They're going in the greenhouse. Then the chilies. I was gonna say they would shoot away in the polytunnel if that was bloody up. But you know what I mean.
I don't like growing them in the polytunnel because they have too long a season, and I keep getting caught of this every year. So if I put the chilies or the peppers in the polytunnel, I can't get the stuff in late summer that I want to overwinter in there because they're still in the ground and they're still producing it like late into November. So I don't want to get rid of them. So it's much better for me just to have them in pots because then they don't hold up the winter stuff.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I would struggle. I mean, mine are always. I sometimes just get a bit, I just take them out. You know what I mean? If I want stuff in, I'll just think I've had enough of them now. They've had the fun. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, anything else?
I'm not ruthless enough to do that. I'm just
God,
there's a couple on there. I can't do anything about it. So then it bugs everything else up.
Anything else? Have we got anything happening? Anything? Audrey, what's planned then for you?
For this week, I have a lot of flowers that need to get out. Let me think. My grasses need to get out. I'm growing wheat this year as a vase filler. So we will see how that will do. It should do fine in this kind of heat. So we'll get that out. I'm going to bring my seedlings that I started this week outside just so they can quickly get used to the outdoor stuff so I can get those beans in. I've got melons, watermelon, cantaloupe. What else? I have a couple squash that I need to get out. So that will be moving quickly.
Was it chilies you were going to use for vase fillers? I'm sorry. We all have to apologise. I'm using the American vase filler there. It's vase filler, for God's sake, man. Just apologise to everyone there.
No one will be upset if you say vase. I surely will not. Totally fine. Yes, I am growing it's a variegated leaf pepper.
How's that doing?
Those are going great. Those I have
Nice.
In buckets right next to my deck. So they will come up and just be ornamental, but then I can whack them and put them in a vase.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Yeah.
What happened, Audrey? I've never asked you for a week or two. What happened to them potatoes that you had in the office there? Are they?
They're still in their pots.
Right.
Really?
Yes. So I don't know if and I cut one off and put it in water to see if it would root. It did not. It just turned into a ball of slime. So that was an experiment, So yeah, I still have potatoes to get in. So we'll get those in this week too.
Also, they're in little pots that they need to go into bigger pots. Oh, right. I thought they were in.
Go in the ground. At this point, they just need to get in the ground.
Right.
Yeah. No, they just need to.
Can we just have a vote? Do you think Audrey's going to get potatoes from them ones or not? Audrey, I cannot see it now. Mind
They're
you.
hanging on.
What size pot are they in?
Oh,
Like, it's
it's
a big
pretty
pot?
small. It's maybe maybe a liter, maybe.
That is quite small.
That's quite tiny.
Oh
isn't
yeah. But I my hope is once they get cut loose in the actual ground, they will just take off.
I'm just picturing you like taking it out, and it's just going to have a pot-shaped one potato in there that's like been molded by the.
Well,
The
if
pot.
that's what it is, I'll at least go, hey, I got one potato out of this.
Yeah.
Probably will not start them indoors next year. I think that was my big mistake.
Mind you, must be watering them every day then, Audrey.
The environment is watering them every day. So if we've had some good rains, they're actually probably sitting in water at the moment.
Right.
Probably not good either. I know for a fact that's not good. So I think we're going to have a better harvest from what we planted right in the ground. For sure.
Talking of potatoes, JB, did you make a decision on whether you're going to put the sweet potatoes in the ground in the polytunnel?
Great question. Yeah, I decided not to.
Okay.
Because I have gone so dense with the tomatoes already. There are way too many tomatoes in that tunnel.
Like
Basically,
what's the distance we've put them at?
oh, that's a
Centimeters.
really good question. It's so there are, I don't know whether to use rows or whatever. So you've got on the how do you describe this? You've got a central path. You've got a bed on the left. When you turn to the left, you've got 3 tomatoes going from the path to the side of the polytunnel.
Okay.
Right? So I've done 3 per
So
row.
they're 3 deep.
3 deep. Yeah, that's the word.
Okay.
Thank you,
And
Jess.
then those ones are probably about 40 to 30 centimeters spacing, so it's
Okay.
quite close. And then I've got about 50 centimeter spacing between the rows, which is also quite close. You can kind of get away with 40 to 60. I think 60 is meant to be like the recommended. So yeah, they're pretty dense as it is. I think it's just about going to be okay. It's proving manageable so far to like get in. I've got everything strung up quite nicely. I've only had one casualty where I kind of carelessly turned around and my elbow caught on a thing and just pulled the tomato straight out of the ground. Just gotta put it back in. Pat the slide around, it'll be fine. So I've only done that once, and with that density, I was just like, you know what? I think putting sweet potatoes in here would just be inviting disaster. So
So
I've
where
only
will
actually
you put them? Where will you put them?
yeah, I've got 3 that are still in tiny little pots, and I think I might just bung them outside. To be honest, it's just warmed up, so now it's warmed up. I'm thinking I'm just going to put a few out. I've got quite a lot of bed space still, so we'll just put them out. Hope for a bumper heat, and hope that they do okay. I have done one in a 30-litre tub in the small greenhouse. Got a little teepee thing set up for it. Looks quite nice, and that's merrily starting to climb away and do its thing, spiraling up. I've put another one in the ground in the small pot in the small greenhouse, so we will have a little bit of sweet potato shared ground and see how they do. But the tomatoes in that small greenhouse are a little bit of the kind of lower priority, so it's a bit of an experiment. See how they
Are
do.
you finding with your 3 that you've got? Are you finding the one in the middle suffering for being in the middle of 3, or are they not at the size yet that would
Not
be a...
yet. I think so. They will all suffer. So basically, I've kind of the first one that's next to the path will be the one that gets all the sun, basically, and both of them next door. So that side of the polytunnel is north facing, basically, and then all my chilies have got the south facing side. So each chili will have a little bit less.
Favoritism, that is.
Yeah,
No
but
kidding.
I thought it would work quite well because obviously the ones further back, the deeper they get, the more height constricted they are because they're closer to the top of the polytunnel. So I'm hoping it might work out, and I'll just have some slightly runty ones at the back. And I planned it out quite well as well. So I've got most of the cherries are at the close to the path because I know they're going to romp away and go the fastest. And then I've got some of the more beefsteaky and the salady ones behind it, which, you know, we'll see. It's a bit of an experiment. I should have definitely sown fewer tomatoes, but it's all part of the fun, isn't it? It's all part of the fun.
I've got I normally plant mine at 30 centimeters, like,
Okay.
but there's only ever one row of them, if you know what I mean. So they're not deep. But I'm thinking, because I can fit at 30 centimeters, I can fit 17 tomatoes in my polytunnel in a single stripe around the outside in like a U shape. But I'm thinking of doing them staggered so I can fit some more in because I've got too many. And
I vote staggered.
wondering-
I vote pack them in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did it.
Tony,
I did it.
So he's being so what's the word I want to give it? Disciplined this year. that he's not packing them in. So I'm like, yeah, let's pack them in. Come on. Let's get some production going here. Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Because I'm thinking of putting, because I've just got one single like string at the back which I string them off. If I put a second string in, because I normally trying to grow things in the front of it, but this year I think all I'm going to put in there is basil. So it's just going to be tomatoes and basil. So if I can stagger them, and if you're not seeing that there's like a major difference immediately
Not yet.
between.
Have you got,
see.
Jess? Have you got sweet potatoes going now as well, or not? Or
Yeah, so I've just potted them up into slightly larger pots because I haven't made a decision about what I'm going to do with them. That's why I was asking. Like, I don't know whether to just shove them in a bed and hope that we have a really hot tail end of the year, or go for big pots, or
well, I've
Yeah.
done mine. Mine's away. Do you know what I mean? And it's the most it's been because, like I say, once when I had them again, my mum thought they were weeds and just collected them up. They didn't really get that good. But this thing now is starting to really like bush out
Yeah.
and get.
they grow
When do
so
I-
quick when they get going.
They look
Oh,
like
yeah.
bindweed and they grow like it as well, yeah.
When do I know? When do I know when they're done? Do the tops start to die off?
Yeah.
That's when I harvested mine. Yeah, when they just started to fade out.
Right, so the will start to like die down, and that's the time to right.
Yeah, and you can also average how many days it's been. I always try to like at least have an understanding. Okay, these are going to take 120 days, so I know I need about 4 months growing time, right? So if some of my leaves are fading at month 2, I'm not pulling them,
Right.
right? So
No.
at least you're in the right ballpark, because sometimes they will take a little hit depending on the weather. But they're a good long grower, so I wouldn't be too quick to pull those out, Tony.
Yeah, the last year, so the first year I did them when they were really good, we essentially treated them mean and forgot about them, and they went the whole season. So yeah, they must have been in there for about 4.5, 5 months
Yeah.
in those pots. Only got watered in the sense of when everything was watered in the greenhouse,
Yeah.
and it was only when they had completely died back and faded that we were like, oh yeah, like turfed them out, and they were
Yeah.
fantastic. And the previous, and then the other year we were a bit too, like waiting for them to die back, and I think we were just too early because they were dying back because they were unhappy rather than, like you say, they hadn't
Right.
been in long enough.
Right.
Should I feed them, Audrey? Jess, do I?
I didn't.
Right, just treat them mean.
To be fair, I do like. They would have got a bit of feed incidentally with like seaweed feed because that gets sloshed around in the greenhouse. But I didn't like set up some kind of like feeding regime for them. They were just like,
Yeah, mine probably get fed about once a month.
With what, Audrey?
It's a seaweed fish fertilizer.
Right.
Kind of use
The
it
general.
on everything. Yep.
Is that like a liquid? Is
Yes.
it? You
Yeah.
just mix it with water and just dunk it in. I
Right.
mean, I do when I go up. Most times, I'll just put the hose pipe into the. It's a big 60-litre tub there, and I think there's 2 or 3 slips right in the middle, and it's like I say, it's most it's been, but
Oh, they'll grow like crazy.
uh-huh.
They will grow like crazy.
No, to be honest, I was like, I'm glad I would, because I couldn't remember how to or when to pick them. So just to be honest, I'll just leave them. You know
Oh
what I
yeah,
mean?
those will be after you've pulled your tomatoes out, probably. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Oh well. Anything? Oh, Jess, how's your kiwi? How's that doing? Is it?
do you know what? It's doing all right. It hasn't. When I first planted it out, it had been a really vibrant green, and it went quite a dark red. I think it was just the shock of going outside. We'd had a few warm nights, and I stuck it out, and then we had a bit of a cold dip. But it seems to have survived it fine, and it's just starting to like develop some more at the top now, so it's going. But I tell you what has been brilliant: the loganberries. Absolutely fantastic. I've never grown them before. We put them in beginning of last year, and we got like 1 or 2 fruit off it, and it was quite small. And this year it's just absolutely covered, and they are delicious. I'm
Nice.
so impressed with them. Really,
And
really good.
what will
I
you
just
do
think
with
that the
it?
connection between that is the loganberry is behind the kiwi. I realised
Oh,
there was a connection for you. That was like I was just thinking about it. Yeah.
How will you? What will you do with them? Are you just eat them raw, Jess? Are you, or will you
Yeah.
preserve them somehow? Or
Well, when I looked it up, it did say a lot that they should generally sort of be used as cooking or jam making or like summer fruit pudding type cooking. But to be honest, they're so sweet. Like
Oh, nice.
yeah, just eat them as a. But what's quite interesting about them is because they're a blackberry raspberry cross. You know how when you pull a raspberry, the core stays on the plant,
yes,
but with a blackberry, the core stays in. The core stays. It's like a raspberry, so it's like that really soft, quite large cells, on the outside of them. It's like that, but the core stays in. It's really soft. It's just quite interesting. It's really
And
they're absolutely delicious.
describe the taste then for anyone who's because we've got them. I haven't got them, but they're on our path as I walk up towards my allotment, so they're there.
Yeah, they look ready before they are. Like they actually have to go really quite a dark red, and you'll feel it because you take the core. When you pull them, if they just like turn to mush in your hand, they weren't ready. You've got to wait for them to like come off quite easy. And they're like, yeah, they are like a direct blackberry raspberry cross flavor wise, but with like a syrupy like honey flavor added in. They're really, really nice.
Oh,
Are they?
It sounds really similar to the mystery. I'm taking over, Tony. It sounds really similar to I've got like a mystery fruit bush on the allotment, and I've never really known what it is. It's closer to a blackberry. They ripen to like a deep dark black, but it's exactly the same, like ultra sweetness, almost honey. They smell close to like candy floss, and it's the same thing. The core comes away. They're super long though. They're a bit of a weird shape.
Yeah.
Core comes away, but it's really soft.
And is it like
they
a
never
bush
make it home.
shape rather than a?
It's like I've always called it a thornless blackberry, and it grows like an
Oregon berry.
Oh, maybe, I don't know.
Well, no,
it's got the thing where
berry is a blackberry that's thornless, and it's got like almost like a clematis leaf.
Oh, not quite. I'll maybe I'll take some pictures. I'll do I really need to do another tour, and maybe I'll do a little segment on it there as well, because there's it's full of fruit this year, more than I've ever seen on it.
What do you
birds
do with
get
that
a lot,
fruit, JB? Do you just
I
leave
just
it?
eat it. I just eat it.
Just eat it there
Eat
and
it
then?
before it gets home. Yeah, it's so good. So good. It's really. I've always. I've never taken great care of it. I always forget to prune it because it's an awkward time of the year that you're meant to do it. I've only got one, so it's never really it never really makes it onto the to-do list, and I just leave it to do its thing far too much. So the fruit, it kind of goes. You have some good years and some bad years, depending on if I remember
But
to
is it
prune it or not.
definitely like a bush rather
Yeah.
than a climber? Because the loganberry is very much a climber. Like it doesn't hold on to itself, but it's just these really long strands that you have to have support.
It's more like that, yeah. With they need support
Oh, okay.
for sure, and you get the fruit on the second year growth.
That's the same as the loganberry, yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely something like that, but no
Something along
label or anything on there. No idea how long it's been there. I tried in 2020 to like tip layer it, to like cultivate it and get some more because they're so tasty. And I did a load of different methods, cuttings, and the tip layer, I thought it had died, but it's still there. It's just tiny little plant still going like 4 years later. It's getting kind of to that height now. So I'm hoping that establishes and I can kind of get my act together on it.
now, JB, can't you take a picture of it and ask the internet what it is?
I should do that. Well, I'll ask our Discord.
Yeah.
I could
That's
ask
true.
like
That's
the
true.
AI magic of the internet too, but
there's so many of those like
Yeah.
berry hybrids, isn't there? But it's just masses of names of all these different like quarter crosses with this one and that one, and
And it could just be a wild cross of something.
no
know?
idea. Absolutely no idea.
Have any of you tried the Japanese wine berry? Because that's one I'm really interested in growing. It looks like quite, what's it called? Like glass popcorn. the glass corn where it's all like the little beads.
Oh yeah.
It almost looks like a cross between a raspberry and that. Like it's quite tight and glossy and really, really shiny. And apparently it's delicious, but I've never had one.
Unbelievably sweet orange red to dark red berries.
Do you see what I mean about them being really shiny?
Yeah, they look super glossy. Yeah.
You know your loganberry, Jess. Is it a bit of like a thug? Is it like a blackberry, like a weed almost?
No. It's got no thorns, which is handy. And it tends to grow, you know how like a blackberry stem can be like a right beast? These are very, very thin stems. And like JB was saying, they grow on the second year's growth. So at the moment, I've got a couple of these really beautiful long, like whippet branches, which I'm just kind of holding off to one side. And then as soon as it's finished fruiting, I'll chop all of the fruiting growth back and then splay those new growth up against the wall. And then that'll be next year's fruit. But it's quite spindly and, like I say, thornless. And the foliage is quite pretty. It's really, it's absolutely lovely. I'm well impressed with it.
So what will you do? What JB do? Just eat the fruit before it gets home, or are you trying to get some actually down to the house for Mum?
I have been eating them while I've been standing in the fruit cage, but also just like a meringue nest with ice cream and a load of berries stuck on top of it has been also had quite a lot of.
Nice.
Are you? Let's ask the main question here. Can you make a good meringue, Jess?
I mean, they're not beautiful, but they're, it's recognisably meringue. So
That's good.
It would be nice if anyone's in the comments just to say if they grow loganberry. Like I say, there's one on the way to my allotment, but I've never, never grown them, never. But I do kind of go past and take the odd one, you know what I mean, as I'm going home, just to sample their wares. So, anything else before we wrap this?
Absolute fiend.
Oh,
Yeah.
To be honest, I think because everyone just passes all the bushes, the fruit bushes on most of the allotments are on the path. You know what I mean? So
If they're growing on the path,
if
you're
they're
like,
growing
well,
on, you know what I mean?
I'd say that's viable. You're
Yes.
okay.
Gooseberries, gooseberries.
I put my raspberries in a very odd spot, and I thought they would not do well. They are taken off
Really?
like crazy. It's on the west side of the house. So all it gets is a little afternoon sun. I mean, they are not in sun at all during the day, and they are so happy over there.
Nice.
And I put it there because they're surrounded by cement.
Oh, very
And I
nice.
thought, I don't want.
They're going to go through cement, or don't worry about that. They will go through cement.
Oh well, then we'll have to see that. But there's 5 different kinds, and they've just taken off.
Mind you, I got mine dug up last, when everyone came up, and they're still throwing up shoots there. Do you know what I mean? It's just like
My neighbour has a massive patch that's gone under the central path and it's coming up in my raised beds.
So if it grows
get
into
out.
my basement, I'm in trouble. Because that might be the least path of resistance for them.
mine, like you say, there's even when they were picked out, they were just left in like potato buckets.
Yeah.
No soil, just bare root. They started away again. Do you know what I mean? Just wild things.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
I made a mistake one year because I saved my raspberry canes to use as pea canes the following year, but you've got to let them dry out. And I recommended to a friend of mine, just cut down your raspberry canes and use them. And so she diligently did that. I forgot to mention the bit where you got to dry them and make sure they're dead, because she stuck them all over her garden, and then they just sprouted.
oh.
What a friend you are!
Crucial bit of
Yeah.
info. And she was like, "What have you done?"
Are you still friends?
Well, I was just thinking I haven't heard from her for a while. So. She's just buried under a mountain of raspberries.
She's outside trying to dig up those raspberry bushes.
Wow, man.
Amazing.
The juice, like you say, if as soon as they go in, the roots are away again. She's got them all over her garden.
Oh,
Yeah, I didn't do that very well.
No.
Yeah.
Actually,
Right, we're on-
I've got just a little interesting thing I've done this week. It's the latest ever, but I've just done my final chili potting up, and I actually realised I've normally done that sort of mid-May, kind of end of May, and it's because this year I've been doing more stages, and I've had those auto pot dividers where you take a 12-litre,
Yes.
split it into 4, and they were long overdue potting up. So that's one of the other things that I've finally ticked off my list this week. And now the tomatoes are in the ground. The chilies are all in their final locations. So it's really like I can breathe easy.
How did you find those dividers? Sorry, Tony.
No, good.
A bit fiddly. Definitely, Jess came up and helped me, which was wonderful. I managed to drag her along to the allotment. And it's very handy having 2 people because they've got a nice handle on the top. So you can lift it out and there's a base. So you've got 4 plants, all kind of where the plants have got quite big. There's a lot of top growth that you can very easily kind of knock and send one of the plants flying, all soil and all. Luckily, the roots have developed so strongly that even if you did knock one over, it would be fine. It would just lose a bit of compost from the roots. But the other issue is that there was a little bit of kind of crossover where one of the plants would grow into the next cell. Because roots are really strong, and if there's the smallest gap between the side of the pot and the divider, they'll get through. So it wasn't too big a deal, but it probably could have been done a week or 2 earlier because there would have been enough root growth to keep it all together when you lifted the pot out.
So
less.
JB, if it's in an auto pot, or let's just say we could do that in a quad grow as well, why would you want to lift them out? Because in theory then, if there's enough water, they're not surviving off the soil, they're surviving off the feed and the water, so why?
Yeah, so technically, if you're doing like a full hydroponic grow, you probably still have to consider plant density, right? So you still need a certain volume of roots, so you need space for the roots to be able to grow, and of course you need space for the top growth. If I had 4 chili pepper plants growing to maturity in one pot, it would just be a kind of pruning and a top growth nightmare. They would all get so tangled into each other, it would become really difficult to get into the center to harvest. You might get some airflow issues as well, where everything would get so dense. But in theory, you could probably do it if you wanted to and fed them. But you would have much smaller plants. You'd have smaller pods. You'd have smaller leaves, just because the volume of soil is smaller for the capacity of their root
So
system.
is the point to do it when they're just starting to grow?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I just let it go a little bit too long. But those auto pot dividers are a great way to just automate that slightly earlier potting up stage.
Sure,
basically
that makes sense. Yeah.
I don't think you can kind of use them, I guess, if you had tomatoes and you wanted to string those up, or if you were growing vertically, you might be able to get some crops in there. I'm not too sure. I don't think it was designed for that. I think it was designed as
designed to kind of make them more versatile earlier in the season.
Yeah,
you mean?
exactly.
Yeah.
Rather than waiting until your final potting up stage to actually use your autopot system, you can put things in there kind of mid-March. I was a little bit late getting stuff in there just because I don't have heating outdoors. But if you were using those somewhere that you had heating, you could do it much earlier in the year, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Will you use them again, JB? The gliders? Yeah.
Yeah, they were quite cool. And the plants are so established. You've got kind of 3 litres of soil. The slightly difficult thing about them is because I've got the 12-litre pots, they're very deep. So actually, if I took one of those plants out and wanted to put them into a 5-litre pot, and even some of my 7.5 litres, the plant is too high. There's too much soil. So it'd be poking right out the top. So I had to kind of, tickle the bottom, shush it up a bit so that they would fit deep enough in the pot.
Right.
But yeah, I will use them again for sure. Really cool.
And that's a technical term, is it?
Oh yeah, zhuzh. Yeah, when you give the soil and the roots a zhuzh, give them a bit of encouragement.
And what was Audrey's onion? Walla walla.
Walla
Walla.
Walla walla, yeah.
That's just making me think of what's the song? Is it from Greece?
Oh,
The song.
Oh, Walla Walla.
Yeah, I
Tell
wasn't going to sing it, but yeah, that's what I've got. Every time you say it, that's what's playing in my head.
For all I know, that's how it got named. I don't know. Who knows?
Well, we are exactly 20 seconds from on the hour. So anything else before we shoot? Any videos going out, JB?
I had a very exciting thing at the allotment last week. I'll be very quick. We got the allotment behind us has got beehives, and I was planting the zinnias into the bed at the end of the plot, and I was just like, and I just heard we've got the aeroplanes go over, so we get some quite loud noises anyway. But I just heard this noise like a jet engine starting up. I was like, what the hell is that? And I looked over, and the bees were swarming. They'd just like formed this tower coming out of the plot. It was literally like, you know, when you open a pressure cooker and it's just like straight up. It was amazing, and the sound they were making. So Mum and I were a bit like shoved the chickens back in their house, like prepared to leave if we needed to, but like 15 minutes later they'd all calmed down. So I was really concerned. And then the lady who actually has those beehives, Maggie, I'd never met her before, she's coming past. Poor woman, she had ended up in A&E the week before, because what's happened is the queen's died and they're queenless, so they keep trying to swarm, but then they realize there's no queen with them, so then they come back down and go back in again. But so they're doing this like repeat, this is what she was telling me, this like repeat swarm thing. And yeah, they got inside her bee suit and it went horribly wrong for her. Yeah, so
Well, mind
they've
you,
got a new queen in there. When I saw her, they'd just put a new larvae in the hive.
because I heard, and I've actually stood. They don't sting you when they're swarming.
They're really docile.
Yeah, so it looks terrific.
They load themselves up with honey for the energy, and then they're not aggressive. But yeah, we didn't know, because obviously I don't.
Oh, it's a weird.
The sound of it was absolutely amazing. Yeah.
I had, when I was at my parents' allotment once, they had a fruit cage that was like old Harris fencing, and there was a grapevine that ran along the top. And I was in there one day, and I kind of had the same thing. I was like, what is that noise? But there was a swarm like 15 centimeters from my head. They're actually quite quiet, and they were just like really chill. And I kind of looked up, and it was right there. And I was like, oh my God. I was like running away. Yeah, terrifying. But yeah, I learned the same thing. Apparently they're really docile.
Yeah, but we didn't know. We were like, do we have to make like a quick escape here or something? Are they going to go mad? But no, they didn't. They calmed back down again and went down. But yeah, the sound was incredible.
Amazing.
It's explaining the other allotment holders as well. Do you know what I mean? They're all right. Honestly, they're all right. You know what I mean? But
when there's this like towering inferno of what looks like really angry bees, it's difficult to calm people down.
Mine now, when I had mine there, you'd walk past, you know, like a distance from them, and one would sting you out of nowhere, and you think, "Wow," do you know what I mean? Ow! So, yes.
Yeah, what happened to this lady apparently is that this wasn't when they were swarming, but they got into her suit and got tangled in her hair, and they just stung her all across the top of her head. That doesn't sound like fun, does it?
Not good.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all. Nasty. Right then. Well,
I'm gonna go cabbage hunting. That's what I'm gonna do. I texted Jess halfway through the show, and I was like, "Should we go to the garden centre, look for some cabbages?" That's what my plan is.
Well, good luck, JB. Where can we find you, sir? Where can we find you? You can
find me at Naturally JB on YouTube and Instagram. Video coming out at 8 o'clock.
There we go.
Like now.
And in local garden centres, if you happen to spot JB in the wild.
On the cabbage hunt.
Jess, where can we spot you?
At Jessie at Plot 37 on Instagram and YouTube and Patreon and the website. Yep.
There we go. Audrey?
Yes. Real Food Comes Dirty. Instagram, YouTube.com.
Please, yes, everyone pop over there. And if you've got, I know JB and Jess has got Patreon, go there and see it. So is the Potty Mouth. That'll be nice as well. You go over there. Audrey, you haven't you not?
Not yet.
I have not.
No. You do this for the love, just for the love.
I wish it was just pure motives, but
Right then, everyone, take good care.
Thanks,
Look after
all.
yourselves.
See you
Little
later.
bit.
Week.